Well, hello Internet, and welcome to my Bootstrap video tutorial. In this one tutorial, I'm pretty much going to take all the documentation from the Bootstrap website and cram it into one video. Underneath in the description, I have links to all the individual parts. You can learn exactly what you want to learn. And Bootstrap basically just makes it extremely easy to make responsive websites. It just does everything for you for the most part. And we're going to be covering containers, jumbotrons, buttons, grid systems for creating responsive websites, how to hide and show elements based on screen size changes, tables, carousels, icons, image styling, text styling, drop-down menus, input styling, navigation menus, tab interfaces, pill interfaces, navigation bars, pagination, and a lot more. So I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, just like always, all the code that I have here is available in the link in the description, and I'm just going to jump in. Basically, we have everything over here is just basic HTML, and I have a little bit of styling, which I'll cover here in a second. And the first thing we want to do is throw a meta tag inside of here, and what this meta tag right here that I just put inside here is going to do is to tell Internet Explorer to use the latest rendering engine. That's something you always want to include. And then after that, I'm going to throw in another meta tag, this guy right here. And basically what this is saying is to set the page width to the size of the device and set the zoom level to 1, as you can see right there. Now we need to go out and get Bootstrap, and it's quite easy. What we're going to do is go to getbootstrap.com, getting started right here. And I'm going to cover how to deal with downloading all the source code and using all of that. But for now, I'm going to use a CDN because it's going to make it very easy for us to get Bootstrap, and at the same time, it is also going to potentially save us a lot of time. If someone has gone to another website that used Bootstrap, they'll have it already available on their system. And to link this in here, I'm just going to type in link like this, and this is Sublime Text here, and this is just a Chrome browser on the right side of the screen, if you're wondering what that is. So then I'm going to go hrefs, and I'm going to paste that CDN directly inside of there. And as you can see, I'm using version 3.3.5. I'm going to talk about version 4 a little bit. And basically one of the major changes with version 4, which is in alpha right now, which means it's not done, is we're going to be changing from using a less compiler to a Sass compiler, and I'll provide a link to my Sass tutorial in the description as well, so you'll be ready for version 4. Alright, so now we have Bootstrap here installed, and now we're going to go down here and just start creating a ton of different things. First thing we're going to need to do, however, is come in here and put both a link to jQuery, which is this guy right down here, as well as another link to the JS or JavaScript stuff that we're going to use to make Bootstrap work. And there's all of that text. Like I said, all the code is available in the description, and make sure you put that at the very, very bottom right when the body tag closes. Now, the very first thing I'm going to create here is what we call a container, and we just go class and follow that up with container. And you're going to need to use this container div because it's going to, first off, provide padding around itself, while you can use another one. It's called container fluid. You can use either one of these. But container is going to put padding around everything that it contains, while container fluid is not. It's just going to make everything butt up against the outside of the screen. That's why containers are used most of the time. And one of the other reasons why we're going to use containers is because Bootstrap grids require a container inside of them. Now inside of this, I'm going to create another div, and this is going to have the class of page header. And page header is going to both add space around the text as well as enlarge any of the text inside of it. And it's also going to provide or add an underline after the text is displayed. So we're just going to throw a simple h1 tag inside of here and just type in Bootstrap tutorial and then close off the h1 tag. And you can see exactly how this is going to work, and you can see right there Bootstrap tutorial, it enlarged it, and there's also a line right there. We're going to also be able to use another class, and this is called Jumbotron, and there's a lot of things we're going to be able to use or do with Jumbotron, and I'm going to show you a whole ton of them here in a second. But basically Jumbotron is going to enlarge your fonts, and it's going to put everything inside of a gray box by default with rounded corners. Of course, you'll be able to change from that gray box to any other color you'd like to use. And just so you know, if Jumbotron is used outside of a container, it's going to completely fill the total width of whatever screen it is displayed on. And of course, you're going to also be able to change Jumbotron, as I did right here. I changed the background color for it, as well as the text color for it right there in the styling section. So it's quite easy to come in there and style it. And like I said, I'm going to show you some other different ways we can style it here in a moment. But to start off, I'm going to throw a paragraph inside of here and save that and reload this on the screen. And there you can see I changed the color for it, and there is the text displayed inside of it. Now we're going to display a whole bunch of other things. We're also going to display some buttons. And there are many different built-in button colors and sizes. And anytime you would like to have a link trigger page functionality, it actually should be called a button as well. However, whenever you want to use buttons using Bootstrap, you should pretty much just call them button elements and keep it that way to avoid any type of confusion. So now I'm going to create another paragraph inside of here, still inside the Jumbotron. And then inside of here, I'm going to put a link, and let's just have this point at absolutely nothing. And then I'm going to create another class inside of here, and I'm going to put inside of here the button class as well as button default, and then button large, and I'm going to cover all the other different things and what those classes specifically mean. I'm going to give it the role of button, and then I'm going to give it specific text of more info, and then close off that link. Like I said, you can use links to refer to them as buttons, but it's better to use buttons. I just like to cover everything, however. So let's come in here and let's create another button using the proper button tag. And to do that, we would just go type, and let's just have this be a submit button class. Again, we're going to call it button. This time we're going to change the color of it, and that's going to be called button danger. That's all that's at in there is a different color. Close that off and just give it the name of button, just to keep that simple. You're also going to be able to come in here and use an input type, with the type being equal to button and a value being equal to whatever. Let's just have it be info, as well as class, and you can see here that nothing's going to change. We're still going to put button inside of there, and just to give it a different color, I'm going to go button info. And just so that we can see all the different colors of default buttons we can have, I'm just going to create a whole bunch more buttons inside of here. And if we save and reload it, you're going to see all those buttons on the screen. There you can see exactly how they line up. And like I said, all the color changes are going to be changed based off of these guys right here, button info and button danger, and you can see how those line up. You can also see here that I was able to get rid of the button part right here, and that's the default button size that we would be using. We can also use a button small, as well as a button extra small, as well as a button large. And you can see right there, there's a button large, there's a button extra small, and there is a button small. So there's all kinds of built-in different ways of styling buttons inside of Bootstrap. You're also going to be able to create buttons and disable them, and then re-enable them if you'd like to. So let's just create another button inside of here, type button, and let's give it a class, button, which is the default button size, and button, and then we'll go and say that we want this to be a large button, and we want to use the primary color for buttons. And then if we want this to be disabled, by default we would just go disabled is equal to disabled, and that button will be disabled, of course. And let's just call this primary, and you're going to see that pop up here, and there is the button, and you can see right there that it's disabled. It can't be clicked on. You're also going to be able to disable links, so let's just throw in a simple link inside of here. We can go class, and let's make it button, button default, button large, and the only difference is you're going to put disabled directly inside of there. And we can have the role for this also be button. Link inside of there, and you can see there we have a disabled link. See, in this situation the little warning doesn't pop up, but you still can't click on it. Another thing we're going to be able to do is come in and group our buttons. So let's go and create another div inside of here, and let's give this the class name equal to button group, and let's have these be button group large. You would also be able to come in and make this small as well as extra small. So there's just tons of things you're going to be able to do, but they're pretty easy to remember. Of course, cheat sheet's always nice, and that's why I provide one. In this situation, we'll make the role equal to group, and then we'll just go and throw a whole bunch of buttons inside of here. And there we go. Save them. And you can see here, let's say we wanted to have sizes for our shirt or something. They're small, medium, and large. And if we reload it, you can see how they line up. However, they are all individually connected, and you're only going to be able to select one of those items at a time. So it sort of works like radio buttons or check boxes or something like that. And those are button groups. So now what I want to do is jump over and take a closer look at the grid system. Then we'll come back and take a closer look at all of the different interface tools that we have available to us. Alright, so now let's come in here and take a closer look at exactly how we're going to be able to create responsive websites very easily. So I'm going to come in here, throw a container inside of there. Then inside of it, if you want to create a responsive site that is going to scale, we're also going to have to create another div inside of this, and this is going to have the class name of row, and then we're going to be able to come in here and go and throw in a whole bunch of data. Now how we're going to be structuring everything is Bootstrap uses what's called a 12-column system, which means that if we want to have all of our different elements line up properly on our screen, we're going to have to section them off into versions of 12. And let's just jump in and just do it. I'm going to create another div inside of here, and here is where the magic happens. I'm going to create a class, and we're basically going to be working with large screens, which is going to be 1200 pixels or above, medium-sized screens, which is going to be from 992 pixels to 1200, small screens, which is going to be between 992 to 768, and extra small screens, which will be like mobile devices, which is going to be less than 768 pixels. Now to define all these, I'm going to have 4 separate columns. So what I need to do is divide up all of the 12 segments so that all this information fits on our screen. And how you do that is just type in column, because we're going to be styling columns. And in a situation in which we are on a large screen, which is going to be 1200 pixels or more, I'm going to say that I want this to take up 3 of the total 12 columns on our screen. On medium-sized screens, which is going to be 992 pixels, I'm going to say that I want to use MD, that's a medium-sized screen, and I still want to take up 3 of the total space. On smaller screens, I'm going to say that I want to take up 6 of the available 12 spaces. And on small or extra small screens, I'm going to say that I want to take up all of the 12 spaces. And that's exactly how that's all lined up. So now let's throw some text inside of here. And there we go. I'm going to throw a header inside of here, as well as some just regular old straight text. And then I'm going to do the same thing for 4 additional columns, and then we can see how the site just automatically responds. Okay, so I threw in a whole 3 additional columns for a total of 4. You can see column 3, and there's column 4, and of course column 2. And you can see also that I defined that they will take up exactly the same amount of space. So 3, 3, 6, 12, 3, 3, 6, 12, 3, 3, 6, 12, and there you go once again. Now if I save this, I on purpose made an error so that I can show you how to fix it. Let's reload it, and there's the error you can see right there. You can see right here, whenever we are in a large format, 1200 pixels, it takes up all the space individually and puts spaces between all the different columns. As I shrink it down, there is the medium range. You can see that it went and automatically scaled. There it got messed up. I'm going to fix that in a second. And here, whenever we get to smaller screens, you can see that it automatically went and put each of the individual columns on separate lines. So now how do we fix this problem right here? See right there. Basically, the reason we have the problem is because this has more text than this guy right here, so it jumps up. But it's very easy to fix it. All you're going to need to do is to throw a div with a specific class right before where the column messes up. So the column messes up on column 3, so we're going to find column 3 right here. And what we're going to do is just go in and throw a div inside of here, and then give this the class name equal to clearfix. And we're going to say that this is only going to be visible whenever we are in the small section, which is this guy. See right here, right there we're in the large, and right here we're in medium, and there is small. So we only want this to occur whenever we're in the small part, and that's the reason why that's there. And that's literally all we need to do. And if we reload it, you can see everything lines up perfectly. And if we scale, you can see that everything scales perfectly. So ridiculously easy to make responsive websites, as you can see right there. Now I'm going to come in here and show you how it works whenever we have different size columns. All of these were exactly the same, so let's go and delete this. And instead, let's come in and let's create another div. And this is going to have, once again, class. However, this is going to have column large equal to 2, column medium is going to be equal to 2, column small is going to be equal to 4, and column extra small is going to be equal to 12. And while I am inside of here, might as well show you how to very easily set it up so that we'll be able to collapse or hide data on our screen. So we're going to come in here and have H4, which is going to show on our screen. And let's go and make this a link, H reference, And in this situation, whenever this is going to be clicked on, it is going to show or hide the column of content on our screen. And to do that, we have to go Data, Toggle, and the toggle that we will specifically be aiming at is collapse. So it will either collapse or uncollapse, so we want to show that, or show, whatever. And we're going to call this column 1, and then we'll close off that link tag, and we'll close off the H4 tag as well. Now we're going to come in and create a div, which is going to collapse or not collapse, depending upon what we have here. And it's going to have the same name as what we have right there. So there we are, paste that in there. And then we're going to say that whenever it first loads on our screen, it's going to be in collapse mode. So there that is. And if you want it to show by default, you're going to say collapse in instead. So it's not going to be collapsed when it first shows on the screen, but then it's going to collapse thereafter. And then we'll throw in some text inside of here. And there that is. And now let's create some more of these different containers so that we will be able to see exactly what it looks like whenever these change. So I'm just going to copy this guy right here, paste that inside of there, close off that div. And for this guy, I'm going to change this to take up 4 columns, and this is going to take up 4 columns, and this is going to take up 8 columns, and this is going to take up the total of 12 columns. And I went and threw in 2 additional columns, and you can see here that the only difference is this is in collapse in, which means it's going to show by default, and this is collapse, and this is collapse. So let's save that, reload it, see how it works. You could see collapse in, that's the reason why that's showing by default. However, if we come in and click on this, it's going to collapse, and now it's going to show. And let's make all these show on screen. And you're going to be able to see exactly how they go and structure themselves. So when they're in large mode, you're going to see that they equally divide up all the space by 4. So they'll be able to show upright like this. This first column is going to take up 2 of the 12 spaces. This is going to take up 4 of the 12 spaces. And this is going to take up the remaining 6. See how they all add up to 12? Then when we're in medium mode, it's going to take up 2. This is going to take up 4. This is going to take up 6. Whenever we get into small mode, this is going to take up a total space. As you can see right there, see it's taking up all the different space that's available, while this is going to divide between 8 and 4. And then here we have, when we're in extra small mode, we're going to take up all the spaces, and they are all going to be on separate lines. So pretty simple, very easy way to hide all that content, show all that content, and so forth and so on. Another thing that's neat is very often, I'm sure you've seen websites that will literally take elements off the screen based off of screen sizes. So let's go and take a look at exactly how that works. Come in here, make sure that we always have a closing div for the row part there. Remember, anytime you use grid, you're going to have containers, you're going to have row. And now this time we don't even need the row part here, but I'm not going to delete it because instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use well here. And I'm going to say that this guy is going to be hidden whenever it's in small mode, hidden whenever it is in medium screen mode, and hidden whenever it is in large mode. We can close off that div, and then inside of here, inside of paragraph tags, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to say that the screen is less than 768 pixels, so we'll be able to see this change on the screen. And then I'm going to create a whole bunch more of these, one for each of the different screen sizes. And then for this one, I'm going to say that this is not going to be hidden when we're in small mode, and this guy is not going to be hidden whenever we are in small or medium mode. And then this guy isn't going to be hidden at all, so we'll just let that be well. And I threw in some information about the different screen sizes here, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And here you can see if I go and reload it, how they change. And as I go and shrink the size down, how all the different elements are going to show based off of the screen size changes. So that's how easy it is to go in here based off of screen sizes to automatically hide elements or show elements. So pretty neat. Now for the final demonstration in this part anyway, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go container. I'm going to show you some things that you can do with tables, as well as how you can sort of show different things or move things around on the screen. So let's go class, let's equal to row, and then close that off, and then we'll go and paste in all of our different table data. And I'm going to show you 2 different ways to move things to the right of the screen. So